So we're here in Mexico hunting Coues deer, and Drew Miles here from Tricer killed this great buck this morning, and so we're super excited for him.
Yeah, I just want to know, like, you guys have had him on camera for 4 years now. We're trying to kill this buck for 4 years. Mm-hmm. You're saying he's 6.5. I have no idea how to age a deer. I want to learn how to age a deer. So that's the whole point of this thing is, like, I want to be taught, how do I age a deer? How do I know this is a mature deer? Mm-hmm. I mean, I can tell, like, I've killed a handful of Coues deer now, mm-hmm. and this buck is 20 pounds heavier than anything I've ever killed.
Oh yeah.
It's hands down, like, it's probably 120 pounds. Mm-hmm. I wish we had a scale, but it's just bigger than any other deer I've ever shot for Coues deer, for sure. Yeah. So, like, how is that on the way, or how do we know how old he is?
Yeah, that's such a great question. We think that we have probably the biggest body size Coues deer that you can get. We've measured bucks in the past, and they've been roughly, give or take, 120 pounds. And so you're right, that this buck is pushing 120 pounds, if not right on the dot. The best way to judge the age of a buck is to look at their front brisket and their neck. This buck has a big old body on him, and so we're gonna start off by measuring right at the base of his neck. This is January 13th, so the rut is right around the corner, so it looks like roughly 19.5 inches right at the base of his neck. And the buck that I measured in December, I think his neck was I think just over 20 inches. And so, you know, for a mature buck, it seems like 19 to 21 inches is kind of right there. Okay. Yep. That's kind of why we're doing this, though, is we want to learn the bucks that we're chasing. We want to be able to look at their neck and be like, wow, that's a big neck. That's a skinny neck. That neck is going to be over 20 inches in circumference. But the height of his neck is going to be 7.5, 8 inches.
So like what you guys were telling me before is the reason why I want to know, like, judge the body versus the antlers is, I mean, there's, like, you put like a 90-inch set of antlers on a 95-pound buck, mm-hmm. it looks bigger than this buck. It looks huge. Yeah. But these bucks, like, I mean, literally, like, this buck's creeping on 110. He's probably like 107, 108. But his body's giant, so you're like, oh, it's deceiving until you put a tape on there. So that's why, like, you want to know, like, look at the body more than you do the antlers a lot of the time. That's the whole point of this, like, process, right? We're trying to figure out. Okay. Yeah, we see it every year that bucks surprise us at first, and then we're like, oh wait, that buck's body is tiny, and his antlers are gonna be smaller. They're gonna be in, you know, relative to his body size. Gotcha. So we're gonna move over to his brisket right here, his shoulder, and we're just gonna measure the depth of it. So it looks like right at 12 inches from the bottom of his, maybe just over, actually. He's probably taller, yeah. He's like 13, 14 inches, yeah. So you're talking over a foot tall right there. Which is still small, but it's still big, you know? Still big compared to, normal Coues deer. Exactly. I swear, like, they're the size of, like, a Weimaraner. Yeah. So that's big. I mean, that's a big chest. Big chest. So you want a big neck, big chest. Yep, they want to look like a brick, like boxy. If their brisket is small and their butt is big, then that's an immature deer. And this deer has been nicknamed Chubby for 4 years. Yep. So he is the epitome of, like, big deer. Yeah. Big fat deer. So Chubby. Yeah. Yep. Big bully. Okay. We're gonna move over to his hooves right here. All right. What are we doing here? If I just kind of put it right here. That's where you're gonna get. Where it's gonna sink into the mud. Yeah. Okay. So we're just gonna kind of go right here. What do you think that says right there? 2 1/4. 2 1/4. 2 1/4. 2 3/8. 2 3/8. Yeah. So over 2 inches is probably a mature buck. Yeah. And okay, 2 1/2. This one's slightly longer at 2 1/2. 2 1/2. You could even get 2 5/8 out of that one. So 2 1/2 is a good barometer of, like, you do 2 1/2 inch hoof, it's probably want to kill this deer. Yeah. What I've seen in the mud is a chapstick. If it's just as big as the chapstick, then you're pretty much, that's a big mature track right there. So I'm not sponsored by Burt's Bees. That would be nice, though. We're gonna move over to his head. The biggest thing, in my opinion, is the deer's head size. You know, the head is what you're looking at when you're also looking at their horns. Okay. And so that's in my opinion where it tricks us the most, is that you throw a 95-inch set of horns on a 2.5-year-old deer or a 3.5-year-old deer, it's gonna look so much bigger because their head is so much smaller. Yeah, and the cool thing is, like, there's a ton of footage of this deer I looked at from the last 2 weeks. Oh yeah. And he's got me running with a buddy who's probably a 95-inch buck. Yeah. but the 95 buck looks really good, but he's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. You see this one, you're like, is it really that big? Because he's that much. This deer is 30% bigger than another buck.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In mass of the body, right? And but it shows you actually go your hands on the antlers that wow, it really is a much bigger antler on this deer because he's a bigger body.
For sure. So we're gonna measure just pretty much everything about this buck's head.
Okay.
The individual ears and then the total ear spread. So this looks
8, 7.5.
7.5.
7.5 inches.
Right there. Yeah. The other ear, 7.5. And then to spread it all the way across, wow, this buck has big ears.
18.5.
18.5.
So you think like that is something that I can look at on a coos deer and be like, oh, his ears are bigger. It's probably a mature buck. That's something. It's one of the things. I mean, not like
could be.
You could get a dopey little youngster with big ears, but like that's like looking at his ears. Like I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because you like see smaller deer. They got smaller ears. They are tiny.
Yeah. Well, you know, you look at spread and it's like, oh, that buck is at his ears. Well, if he's at his ears, then inside his horns they're going to be huge. The buck I killed in December, his ears were like 16.5 inches wide. So this buck's ears are 1.5 inches or maybe even 2 inches
so if you're
wider.
If you're looking for his antlers to be wider than his ears, you're probably not going to get that.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, I got you.
So,
and I've killed a lot of small deer, so I know that they have small ears. So I know
for sure.
All right. What we got going on now?
I'm gonna go right in between his burrs.
Okay.
On his head.
So you get that width.
Yeah.
So like I know like on a big sheep, closer together better. Probably on a big deer, probably the wider apart is probably better, right?
Yeah.
3 inches. 2.5?
2.5. It's kind of hard to.
All right.
Yeah, like 2.5.
2.5.
Which is okay.
Like a fist. Nah, half of a fist this way.
Yeah.
Would be what you're looking at. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a fist in there that way. So that's a wide deer.
Yeah.
The head's gonna be bigger on these deer. I mean, it's that head is. We have pictures of him with 2 other deer he's running with, and his head is much bigger.
Yeah.
Noticeably bigger.
So I'm gonna hold the head. Do you want to put and go down his nose?
To the tip, from right here, from the center right here?
Yep.
Center to the nose, 9 3/4.
9 3/4.
9 3/4. Okay.
That's a long head. That's a long head.
So he's just bigger.
Yeah.
Everything about him is bigger.
Everything about him is just bigger.
Okay.
So
Now what about like face? Like, is this going to change the color at all? Like older deer?
Yeah. So we've seen that they get lighter around their eyes and around their mouth. But the deer that we have down here, their heads are really dark. Like their forehead.
Yeah, they do seem like not as gray as the gray ghosts in Arizona.
They're more tan and they have really pretty coats.
Like, oh, it kind of looks like a blacktail, like the color a little bit.
Kinda,
more,
yeah.
A little more, and then but this is grayer here.
Yeah.
I noticed that. So that's okay.
But you can see that this buck, he's just got a big meaty head on it.
Okay.
That this buck is mature.
He's freaking healthy.
Oh yeah. He's been eating. He's been eating.
He's got diabetes.
Yeah. I wanted to go from the burr down to his jaw, and it's gonna be 5.5. 5.25.
So look in the side of his head, 5.25 inches.
Yeah, which is pretty significant. Let's go from his eye down. It's gonna be 3 inches.
3 inches. Okay.
No, 3.5. From his eye down to his jaw.
I mean, even the buck we killed over in Arizona this year. It's like a mid-80s buck. Like, it is like I know that deer was a lot smaller in the head. Like that's like I know. I'm not looking. I'm always like looking at antlers every time I see a deer. Like, what do the antlers look like? And like that makes so much sense. Like seeing like that freaking head's big. Like that's something like it's in the body thing. The neck obviously is gonna help me a ton. And it's gonna help me a ton. Like 100%. Like these are things that like I wasn't doing that I'm like, oh, this is really gonna help me judge deer because it's just so easy to think that deer's a 3x3. I gotta kill it. Yeah. Right.
100%.
And then you're shooting those mid-80s bucks every single time.
Yeah. Spur of the moment. It's so easy to get caught up in like, wow, his horns looked big.
Yeah.
How was his body?
He's not wider than the ears. Well, this deer has 18.5 inch freaking ears.
If you shoot a buck with 18.5 inch inside spread, that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. But that's just some general measurements of this Mexico buck that we've had on camera for a couple years. He's mature, he's a great buck, and I'm so happy that you were able to kill him, Drew.
It's awesome. Yeah, thanks guys.